In today's video, I am going to show you my top 10 tips for learning how to develop and maintain and play in the upper register. All right, so number one is to not just play exercises. This is what everybody wants to know about. What's the perfect exercise to play in the upper register? Well, I think playing music in the upper register is probably the most essential. So you could do anything. I like to use Tommy Dorsey's Getting Sentimental. That sounds like this. Just that opening bit is pretty good. You can move it around, go up in half steps. But I know what you're thinking. I don't know that song. Well, pick another song that you do know a little bit better. And you don't have to start quite so high. So play a song like maybe that you know pretty well, like Happy Birthday. So you're getting off the page, you're playing music, you're just hearing the notes and playing. So you don't need to start quite so high. Just start lower where you do know a particular song and then move up in half steps. If you can do that over the period of 6 to 12 months, you might be able to add a fourth onto your range or a fifth onto your range. So play music, play melodies, get into the upper register. But yes, I know if you can't hit the notes, how do I get there? How do I make sure that I can get those notes happening? So first of all, there's two things we want to make sure that we're doing. One is making sure that we're using the correct vowel sounds inside of our mouth to make sure that we can direct the air into as small and fast of an air column as we can to get those high notes to come out. So first is making sure that in the low register, you're using an O, in the mid register, and upper register, it's E. And the E helps me to focus the air more, and I'll show you what I mean. I'll go O to A to E. In my mouth, oh. All right, so we got to make sure you're using the right vowel sound for the right register of the horn. From there, you want to make sure that you're using fast and focused air and a focused aperture. So not only fast air, but if it's blowing this wide, it's never going to be able to help you get into the upper register. So you want to focus in that air into a nice small aperture. So the aperture is actually the place on your chops right in the middle of the embouchure where the air will come out. So we're going aye. So we got to push and make sure that it's nice and focused there. From there, we want to make sure that we're pushing that air nice and fast. So make sure you're using your best breathing techniques. I know there's a lot of people with opinions on the best breathing techniques, but use a very nice big air. I like to use relaxed breath, really deep, and then and focus and fast air that's supported down in the diaphragm so that the notes have the support they need to come out. Right? I'm just going and to try to get those notes to come out. So making sure that we're doing those things is one thing. Trying to get some of the notes is another. So number 4 is going to be use long positions to try to get the notes to come out. So if I try to play it in first position, say we're trying to get to a high F. You might have better success at first trying to play it in a long position. So what you can do is kind of gliss up to them, meaning not gliss, but actually rip up to them. So go against the grain. Instead of trying to hit it in first, you can hit it in sixth, like this. As I go out, I'm pushing harder with my fast air. And then that leads me to the next step here, which is number, I think this is number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 in our list here, is going to be to then gliss up to the notes. So So you can use the slide and go up. That's a little more tough. But these are just steps, right? Steps on slowly developing. This does not happen overnight. This happened with slow, deliberate practice. So the next thing is to talk about tonguing in the upper register. So the most difficult thing with those notes is to tongue them after you have already squeaked them out, right? So you might just practice some simple sort of exercise. Just go ta 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 ta. I know that sounds crazy. That would be difficult, but check it out. Pretty easy. Now if I go up to B flat, that's cool. What if I go to C? You can see all of a sudden it gets choppy. It's hard to get it to come out. So I need to play with more air. You can see that it gets more and more challenging because your tongue is then interrupting the airstream. So you have to make sure that you're separately practicing the tonguing and adding the tonguing into the upper register. So you want the tongue to not interrupt the airstream too much, or else it's going to do what happened to me just there, where it gets all kind of like, right? So you want to make sure that you're not worrying too much about the articulation at first, and you can kind of add it in later after you can actually reach the notes. All right, so that brings me to another exercise. Wycliffe Gordon showed this to me, and it's called the crack tone exercise. I'm not going to demonstrate it because it'll be so loud that it's going to distort the microphones and you won't even be able to understand what it is. But basically you play up chromatically or up a major scale and kind of hit it as hard as you can and use your tongue to kind of explode the air, and you're kind of cracking the notes just as loud as you can, like cat, 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 cat. I'm not going to do it for you because I can't record it accurately, I don't think. But this crack tone exercise is really good for seeing how the tongue will explode the air, and it might be able to help you get some of those notes out for the first time and help you with the accuracy of tonguing when you're doing like what I just was trying to demonstrate in the number before. So number 7 is going to be crack tones. 7, 8, yeah. Number 7 is crack tones. Now, number 8 is going to be developing endurance doing Caruso style long tones. So what does that mean? So that means that we're going to keep the chops set and we're not going to reset in between. So you could play any different type of long tone exercise. You could just play a chromatic scale, but I'm going to play, say, like a snake long tone where we go up in half steps and whole steps, minor thirds, major thirds. But what I'm doing is I'm keeping the mouthpiece on my face and I'm keeping the corners set. So the longer you do this for, the more endurance you're going to build and strength in terms of keeping the chops in one position. Because even if you take a breath and move it a little bit, there's like 200 something muscles here, and you're not going to develop those muscles quite as well as if you keep it in one place. You can kind of dig deeper into that through the work of people like Laurie Frink and obviously Caruso himself. But this is kind of one of the basic tenets of the method. There's much more to it, but this is something that's helped me too. So it'd be like something like this. Et cetera, et cetera. I don't need to play through a whole long tone exercise to kind of demonstrate that for you. So hopefully that makes sense. You can dig into that a little bit more. My number 9 tip for playing in the upper register is to relax. It's really important that you approach it with a relaxed attitude. You support it, of course, and you're engaging, but you're relaxed. Because if you're all tight and you're slamming the horn into your face, it's going to prevent the parts of your body that need to vibrate from vibrating, because we need to allow for the high notes to come out. That's number 9. So stay relaxed. And number 10 is you got to think about, you don't have to, but I really think it's helpful to think about when you're aiming for that high note, think about it like you're shooting a basketball. It's going to have an arc to it and it's going to come into the hoop, right? Because the opposite of doing that and shooting into the hoop is that you shoot up and you're just thinking up, and you go whack, and you whack right into that high note and you miss it. Or you hit right against the barrier of your high register and it doesn't get up and into the basket. So for me, that really helps thinking about coming down to the notes rather than up to the notes. And it's more just like a mental game and a mental picture that's a little bit, I don't know, it's better for me. It might not be better for you, but I think you might try it, because otherwise you're just kind of slamming up into that high register over and over again, and it's not as delicate. So if you want to just kind of land on that nice high note, ta, you want to think about going up and over. So that's kind of like a visualization exercise for your high register. All right, so there's 10 tips to help you in the upper register. I hope this is foundational in your practice. I hope you'll take it nice and slow. Please don't injure yourself, because trying over and over again to play into the upper register can really, really tire out your chops and cause problems if you're not careful. So be careful. 10 minutes a day maximum, I would say. Work in this way. Maybe 5 minutes is better advice. It's just a small amount every day over a long period of time is what's going to get you there. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Leave some comments down below. And don't forget that playing in the upper register does not define who you are as a musician. It does not define your quality, the gigs that you'll get. And as long as you can play within the comfortable register, the written register of your instrument, having extreme abilities in the upper register is not going to help you any, especially if it's not controlled and musical and accessible whenever you need it. So happy practicing, and we'll catch you back here for another video.